This is the Freeski A10L tablet, a budget Android device that comes in at just under £100 and includes all of these accessories. You get so much in this package, but I want to know if it really lives up to its billing and can deliver the kind of performance that it promises. This tablet was sent out to me by Freeski, but I'm not getting any other financial incentive to look at this product. I am usually an iPad user, so going over to a budget Android device is a bit of a culture shock for me, but in terms of the build quality, it's actually better than I expected. You are dealing with inexpensive plastic materials here, so the back shell does feel a little bit scratchy in compared to more high-end tablets, but it is at least presented in quite a nice design with a ripple effect running down the top of the shell. This is going to be covered up most of the time because you also get a folio in the package, and that's quite hard to snap on and off, but once it's on, very secure, and it feels like it's going to protect the tablet very well. The most important part of any tablet though is the display, and this one comes in 10.1 inches at a HD resolution. This feels like a really nice natural size for the tablet, and it's going to be very comfortable to either hold or set down on a desk if you're watching things like YouTube or streaming from Netflix. One thing you're going to get with any budget tablet is a laminated display, so that means there's going to be a little gap between the actual screen underneath and the surface you touch. And that's going to have a knock-on effect for quite a few areas of use. For example, if you are pressing onto the screen, you're not going to have the exact accuracy that you will have of more high-end tablets like, for example, an iPad mini. You'll also find that viewing angles and the max brightness and clarity of the display are impacted by the fact that it is laminated. If you don't particularly care about any of that though, this can be a really good screen for watching all kinds of media, combined with the dual box speakers, which can produce decent audio if lacking a little bass. You're going to get a very good experience watching your favourite shows. You've got rear and front facing cameras here, so you can use this for voice calls, but to be honest, I wouldn't expect too much more than that from these cameras themselves. For the most part, they're going to be useful taking QR codes, maybe scanning documents, that kind of thing. The A10L ships with Android 14 and an octa-core 2GHz processor. Moving around the OS can feel a little bit laggy, and opening apps will take longer than you would expect on a higher end tablet or an iPad, but the tablet is perfectly serviceable for most basic tasks you want to perform. Things like reading and responding to emails, browsing the web, or using it for basic social media access is going to be perfectly fine on this tablet. One area it will certainly struggle with is gaming, not being able to open up games like Squid Game, and actually having a hard time emulating some very low powered consoles, for example the Game Boy Advance and Sega Mega Drive / Genesis. I did manage to get some Genesis games running using RetroArch. I don't really like showing emulated footage in videos, so I'm gonna just tell you about it. To be honest, it really struggled to keep up a usable frame rate on those very basic systems, and the tablet got very hot while I was trying to do so. So I decided that I'm just not going to continue doing that. In general, this tablet really shines as a little budget streaming machine, or somewhere you can just check emails and read the web, but I wouldn't expect much more of it in terms of performance. But while the performance does leave you with a little bit more to be desired, it's only one part of the package you're buying here, because you are also getting those accessories, so let's take a look at them too. The most successful of these accessories is probably the stylus, which is very light and easy to use. It doesn't actually need to be charged because it's going to function by using this little rubber lip at the end of the pencil itself. That little rubber lip though is not going to be very precise, and it will work with quite a bit of lag when using this tablet. If you're just kind of scribbling around on the screen, you'll notice that the trail is a second or so behind where you've actually written, and that can make it difficult to actually write effective notes. But if you just want to use it to mark up text on a PDF, then it's probably a really good little tool to have. You do also get a lightweight Bluetooth mouse which runs using 2 AAA batteries, and to be honest, it's just a mouse. The fact that it is so portable means it's a really good option to have with you if you're traveling, and so it's quite nice that you get these 2 different input methods alongside the tablet itself. You do also get a very portable lightweight keyboard which has number and function rows, something that's quite rare on keyboards of this size. It's clearly quite flimsily built, so you'd have to take good care of it if you were traveling with it. And typing on it can actually be a little bit difficult because you have to apply quite a lot of pressure to the keys in order for them to register. And the spacebar, for example, has to really be pressed right in the middle because any taps, the sort of edges of the spacebar aren't going to register, and that does make it quite difficult to type at speed. But if you just need a keyboard for basic input while you're using this tablet on a desk, then maybe you could get away with it. I personally wouldn't want to write a full email newsletter using this keyboard, for example. Alongside that, you also get some wired earbuds, which are what you'd expect for this price, as well as a charger, which is always nice. But overall, I'd probably say it's worth getting a slightly more expensive tablet that doesn't come with all these accessories but offers more in terms of performance. You do have to come back to the price because this tablet is very inexpensive, and I think there are certain people that would be satisfied by the level of performance it delivers. I'm thinking maybe like slightly older people, grandparents or grandkids who just want to watch their favorite shows and aren't particularly interested about getting a huge amount of performance in terms of gaming or more sophisticated apps. For anyone who really wants to be productive on a tablet or step into things like gaming, then you are much better off looking at something that's slightly more expensive and more performant. If you do love a quirky little tablet though, then I'd recommend watching this video next. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.